go, and he gives me this big lecture about how sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do, and just it's better to let the person down easy, and instead of just being horrible to her. But then the same thing happens to him. He gets forced to go to the same dance by this woman, and so he's now put in the position I'm in. And finally, somewhere in we dance with the girls, and then there's a scene where we're sitting there, and he's thinking, let's get the heck out of here. So he goes, maybe we should leave early. And I go, I know what you're saying. Let's get out of here. So we both dumped these women at the altar. So
it's not you, it's me. or Fred MacMurray, what he could have done in real life, where he brings just drives a station wagon and a brown bag lunch. He could have said, "Hey, would you like a brown bag lunch?" He could have said something like that.
He probably could have. Yeah, and I mean, he was definitely, for being a big movie star, just kind of like a normal guy. Whoever heard of a movie star eating from a brown bag lunch? It's almost like an oxymoron.
and of course, I think some people would take that as well, too. Very humble and everything else. Of course, admire Fred MacMurray, and of course, working with him as well, too. And what do you consider your most memorable moment, either on the set or off the set of My Three Sons?
Well, most of the time on the set, this had to do with actually Bill Frawley. When I was 14, I was into surfing. And like I said, I was really close friends with Bill Frawley, but, what's the guy's in his mid-70s? And, even though we were friends, a lot of times, older people, especially that age, just paying lip service, listening to and all that. But he knew I was into surfing. And anyway, it was my birthday. And, you figure, hey, he could have made it easy on himself, got a card and put a $20 bill in it and go, hey, from Uncle Bill to Chip or whatever. But anyway, we were shooting scenes. And anyway, I went back to my dressing room to change clothes. And lo and behold, what's in my dressing room but a 9-foot Dewey Weber surfboard.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, there was a card taped on it. It says, to Chip from Uncle Bill.
Or I thought I was going to say a cowabunga, dude.
Yeah, or a 60-foot centerfold would have been nice, I guess. That would have been more likely from Bill Frawley. But, it showed me he was really in tune with me and, really wanted to find something that I was, interested in, not just a $20 bill. But, and then, bringing a surfboard isn't like going to a toy store and buying a toy car or some simple thing, like a bathing suit or something, which surfboard is like probably about 60, 70 pounds and it's 9 feet long. And here's a guy that doesn't drive. So he went to some effort, to show that he cared about me is what I'm saying. And I was overwhelmed. So, that was probably my most memorable moment, on the set there with Bill.
And of course, too, having it go from 1972, and of course, there's also a change of social norms as well, too, especially with the British invasion of the Beatles, 1964, 65, 66. And of course, the question is, did you guys change with the times when the Beatles started coming into form? Did you guys just stay the same?
I did. Our characters didn't. The producers, I think, they just saw it as the next thing happening in show business, but not realizing the impact it had on American teenagers, that moment in time. I don't think there was a kid in America that didn't want to be the Beatles. And I think every loose guitar in every pawn shop was bought up and, garage bands formed and everybody's trying to learn how to become a Beatle, And anyway, I know I did. A friend of mine who was a little bit older had bought the album Meet the Beatles at the end of '63, and I was just overwhelmed when I heard it, all that harmony and the way they looked, and it's sort of like I want to be that. I want to be Chip on My Three Sons. So anyway, I did find a place to buy the boots. I was one of the first people I know of, especially in school, they have Beatle boots. I didn't realize all they were Spanish flamenco boots.
Mm-hmm.
And right near where we shot on Paramount, there was a shoe store near us, but it was called Benson's Bootery. And he sold all kinds of boots from all over the world. And came in, had the picture of the album, said, "Do you have these?" He says, "Oh yeah." It was like no big deal. This guy didn't know he was about to sell about 10,000 of those a week. because this was December of '63, so it hadn't fully hit yet what the Beatles were to become and the influence, and not only music but culture and fashion. They were icons of that era. So, yeah, I bought that. I bought a guitar at a pawn shop. About 2 years later, I bought a better guitar at Wallach's Music City in Hollywood. I bought a Fender Mustang, which is sure a heck of a lot easier to play than the classical wide neck metal string guitar I had bought in the pawn shop, which
oh my gosh,
that's what I learned on. So yeah, when you finally got a tapered neck and slinky strings, you already knew how to play, you were sort of in business.
Or trying to impress Fred MacMurray with it too. So
yeah, well, I don't know. We're going to press him. In fact, I don't think we impressed the studios either. We could play them, but we couldn't plug them into an amp, which is what they were meant to do. But yeah, finally, I think it was '65. I bought another guitar. I bought a Gibson 335, and I bought a Gibson Country Western at the same time. So that guitar wasn't amplified, but for a nice acoustic guitar, it also had a Country Western look to it, but it also had that tapered neck, so it was much easier to play. And the strings weren't quite so high off the frets. I think that first guitar, I think those strings were about 1.5 inches off the frets. It was,
oh my gosh,
it was gruesome what you had to go through to push those strings down. So yeah, when you finally got a Fender Mustang, the action was so easy. It was you just put your finger on it and the string was down on the fret. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That is very nice too. Of course, we'll get to what you've been doing lately as a producer and director and your own company. But first, I'd like to remind you, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com. Looking for a professional website without breaking a budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 800-303-3960. That's 800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, you can hear the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also hear on the Facebook page at thefacebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. Also SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. We're here with Stanley Livingston, who played Chip on My Three Sons, and going to My Three Sons, he also got into producing, directing, and he's got his own company called First Team Productions. You can also visit on the website. So first of all, tell us about your beloved company.
Well, it's one of many companies. I've been different companies over the years, but what happened to me, how I got interested in production is flash forward, here I am. But in the beginning, I was on My Three Sons as an actor, and when I was about 15, 16, I started getting interested in the other side of the camera. Like, how do you make these things? How do you put it together? The cameras, the editing, and fortunately, the crew we have were these old timers who went out of their way to impart information if you were interested. And some of the people we had working on My Three, a few generations ahead of me, but our director of photography was an Academy Award winning cinematographer, and other people had won awards earlier in their lives, and a little bit later it was easier for them to do TV. So I learned a lot about cameras, editing, production work, how you do scheduling and budgeting and everything. So by the time I was about 18, I formed my first production company with another guy, and we started shooting commercials and little industrial and educational films, and they were all done on film those days, and then you would edit them together on a moviola, and that's how it was done. And then videotape came in, and CMX editing. First it was linear editing, which you would build up whatever you're shooting, so you better be sure you wanted it, because as soon as you put it in line in the video, it was there, and you were only creating stuff downstream of that. But if you decided to go back and insert something before you, from that point on, you had to start all over again.
Okay.
So what was good is when they came in with non-linear editing, which meant you could drop things in anywhere, and if you dropped it in between something in the beginning, it would just shove everything, downstream or south of that downstream, so it didn't destroy the footage the next. So that was great. So yeah, learning the tricks of the trade and how to get things done, get them done on time, on budget, and all that. So, been involved. Did feature film. In fact, one of the last things I did was a Cinerama film. We actually, in fact, what was that guy, Dave Strohmeyer, that I was mentioning, came to me and said, hey, would you be interested in doing a Cinerama film with me? And I'm like, yeah, well, how are we going to do that? There's no Cinerama cameras. And he said, no, they are. They're in storage at the Cinerama Corporation. And there's enough of them that we can cannibalize parts off of it to get one of them working and do this film called In the Picture. So that's what happened. I was one of the producers on that with Dave, and we did this film called In the Picture, and it debuted at the Cinerama Film Festival. And in fact, we got an amazing review from Leonard Maltin on it. And then they ran all the rest of the Cinerama films that whole week. So In the Picture ran about 4 or 5 times, and they ran all the rest of the Cinerama films about 4 or 5 times, sometimes in the daytime, some in the evening. And then I was involved in this really big project, which was it's like my payback to the industry. Having come from the world of being an actor and watching friends of mine or people come out here that I didn't know struggling to become actors and trying to figure out what was wrong, why, most of them didn't make it, few did, but most people, did it for a while and then got out of the business and it just didn't work out, or, they just struggled and suffered. And I was always of the mind that it wasn't just the acting part. Most of the people I met were pretty good actors and have been trained very well for whatever school they went to, whether it was a mom and pop school or the Actors Studio in New York or Yale or Harvard. But there's actors out there as we speak every year dropping anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 on up to a couple $100,000 if you're going to Yale or Harvard to learn how to act. So the craft part, that's doable and it's manageable and people know how to teach it. And that's great, except what you find out after you graduate. And I think this was something that the schools and universities don't want to tell you is, oh, by the way, there's this other thing we're not teaching you called the business of acting. And that's the part where you have to figure out how to get into the industry and bring what you learn craftsman-wise and your artistic abilities and your talent to. Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they're saying too. And I was talking to some people, and they say that they don't place you at jobs, they don't give you jobs. It's like you get out there and find them yourself. So that's the one part that they need to get out there too.
Even to finding out how you get in that position to find out about them is, is a whole thing. And some of them you can't even get on unless you have an agent. How do you get an agent? Oh, well, I haven't worked. Well, after you work, you'll get an agent. It's like, yeah, but how do I get the work to get the agent? It's this vicious circle. And anyway, that's the part of show business that really has never been focused on or accounted for. And unfortunately, whether you came from Yale or Harvard or some mom and pop school, you're left basically to reinvent the wheel every time. Every actor reinvents the wheel because there's nobody there to guide you, to help you, to mentor you. So yeah, it's all these people struggling, that are probably fine actors, but don't have a clue about the business. And, where do you go to find out about it if it's not being taught? So I had the idea of doing a DVD series because it would be the best way to get it to people because I couldn't be everywhere to teach a formal class. So I invited 100 industry people that were friends of mine, peers, people that I'd worked with, worked for, to participate in this. And I kind of, over a period of time, came up with what I thought would be the curriculum for the project was called The Actor's Journey. So, basically it's this process of what you are required to do when you're not acting, which is the grunt work of becoming an actor. So we did a 10-hour-long program, ended up being put out on 8 DVDs. And that's the adult version, meaning you're at least 18 years or older. We also did another version of it that's 5 hours long called The Actor's Journey for Kids and Teens. which is really addressed to the parents, because the parents are the ones that launch the careers of kids, and they're legally responsible. And